Zelensky was speaking in front of the UN yesterday. If you've been watching the news at all, and even if you are someone who I think is properly skeptical about information that you get during wartime, and even if you are someone who also, like me, can't help but look at these images and wonder, what if there had been this type of reporting in Fallujah?
Yeah.
Or other places in Iraq?
Or currently in Yemen.
But specifically, when you hear the stories of Russian soldiers busting down doors, I don't know. I've never heard of stories where, well, that's not true. Let me put it this way. I've heard of stories of U.S. Military personnel in Iraq killing prisoners, killing civilians, wanton shooting, but I have not heard of the U.S. government and the media so aggressively saying, like, well, these victims are obviously crisis actors. Now, that doesn't make those killings any less egregious and horrible.
Like, for example, the war criminal that Trump pardoned who killed all those civilians, the coverage from the United States' perspective, at least on Fox News, was, well, they were defending our country. There wasn't the accusation that you described.
Right. But within the context of the United States, at least in that situation, that person was considered a war criminal, and even by the military. There was no institutional support for this person to be pardoned. Anyways, so there's a massive amount of pressure, and we're starting to see, Europe respond to these atrocities. But the Biden administration, fortunately, has remained steadfast in making sure that the U.S. is not more directly involved. Obviously, we're sending weapons there. I would be surprised if we didn't have covert operations on the ground in some fashion or another, providing support in some fashion or another. Maybe we do, maybe we don't. I don't know. But the Biden administration has remained steadfast in preventing a pretext for an expansion of this war. And here is an exchange where CBS, remember, recently hired Mick Mulvaney as just a guy who comes on and makes comments about, the budget.
The budget wonk.
Yeah, the budget wonk, who incidentally was not only a member of the Freedom Caucus, but people said one of the most incompetent OMB heads there have ever been. But here is CBS reporter. Do we know the name of this reporter?
Portnoy.
Steve Portnoy.
Wonder if he's related to Dave.
Don't know. Here is Steve Portnoy asking Jen Psaki some questions yesterday at the White House press briefing. Thank you.
Just to put a finer point on some of the questions so far been asked, why shouldn't the images of the atrocities from Bucha compel a worldwide, unified, coalition kinetic response?
You mean a military war? Tell me more about what you mean.
Or a military response led by the United States and the international partners.
As in bringing military troops on the ground from the United States and NATO?
Well, the president's described outrageous things. You've called them atrocities. You've said perhaps we should brace ourselves for worse. Why not?
I think what the president's objective is, and his responsibility, is to make decisions that are in the interests of the United States and the national security of the United States and the American people. And that is not to go to war with Russia. It is to do everything in our power to hold them accountable, to support efforts through international systems to do exactly that, and to provide military assistance, security assistance, and support to the Ukrainian people and the Ukrainian government. That's exactly what we're doing. But it is not in our interests or in the interests of the American people for us to be in a war with Russia. Go ahead.
I love the use of that kinetic.
Yeah.
A global kinetic response.
Kinetic response.
Do a local kinetic response to my hunger after the show.
He felt very, very official and very serious by using that term.
Yeah. That is also just like, honestly, this may seem a little sophomoric, but that is literally the way that you signify. Like it's either that or wear a shirt that says I'm a douchebag. And those are the two ways that you can establish that.
Yeah.
When you refer to starting World War III as a kinetic response.
And then, I mean, she was good at how she responded to that, basically asking a series of thinly veiled, incredulous follow-ups until like it was just revealed how insane his question was, because his final question at the end was, quote, why not? Like, F it. Why not? World War III. I mean, that's what that was. Like, you know, he talks about the atrocities that are being done by the Russians onto Ukraine, which is accurate. That's true. So why not commit more atrocities? F it. Screw it. Let's go to town. That's the crux of his question. But he uses sophisticated language like kinetic response. So he feels like it's not just a completely, you know,
it's not. He's a serious person,
right? As opposed to responding like an animal. Action.
Global kinetic response sounds like a new exercise movement that's taken the world by craze.
Yeah, or it could just be the fact that the Earth spins on its axis. It is really. It's why wouldn't we say we see the deaths of hundreds or thousands of civilians and not say, and we raise you that those number of deaths by tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands or millions.
Let's go occupy Moscow.
Exactly.
Ryan Grimm has a new video for his montage now. That he has.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, exactly.